I'm going to give you a deep dive of radar. I'm going to show you our tropical satellite as well to show you the possibility of our first named storm and what this is going to mean for us over the next couple of days. So first thing to note is we are under a weather impact alert today, tomorrow into Thursday. It is possible that we wrap this up a little bit earlier on Thursday, but between today and tomorrow, that's when we're going to see the strongest impacts, a high likelihood of some of these heavy downpours again. And then now we're looking at some potential additional impacts along the coastline, namely by way of some gusty wind. Let's talk about the flood risk for today. So we're under an elevated level 3 on the 1 to 4 scale for the areas highlighted in red. So that includes a good chunk of Harris County, a good portion of Fort Bend as well, Matagorda, Brazoria, Galveston into Chambers County. Notice the area that we're actually seeing some of the heaviest downpours and the flash flood warnings right now are under a threat level 2. So really it's hard for the models to pinpoint exactly where these training thunderstorms are going to set up. Training storms are the ones that don't move. They redevelop in the same spot. And when we don't have enough time for the water to recede, that's when we start to be concerned with high water, localized street flooding, flash flooding. Flash flooding is the highest concern because it comes in quickly and it is very dangerous to be stuck in. Notice tomorrow it's a similar setup. So we've got a tier structure for the flood risk, and the highest tier is going to be closer towards the coastline. And that's no coincidence. Closer to the coastline is where we're expecting to see that tropical system set up. Whether it becomes named or not is really not going to make much of a difference. It's going to have the same impacts. It's going to have heavy rain, and it will push in some waves of water closer to the coastline. I'll break that down here in a moment, but here's a live look at radar. So we're still looking at the heaviest rain, the torrential downpours for northern Harris County into Montgomery. Like I said, these flash flood warnings are going to be perpetuated throughout the next couple of hours. If these rain bands don't let up, pay attention to this time frame because it's going to change. Right now, it's expected to expire at 2:30 in the spring area. For the Woodlands up into Oak Ridge, North Tomball, this is expected to last until 2:15. Now, if the rain doesn't start to die down, it is likely going to continue to impact you through your commute. So what are you planning between 4 and 5 o'clock? You might have to be flexible with that. You definitely want to check radar before you head outside, because you don't want to be caught along the North Freeway under an underpass, anywhere that has low-lying poor drainage zones. You definitely want to be mindful that some of these spots may not be drivable for the next couple of hours. So right now, at least north of the Woodlands, we're starting to see some lightening of the rain, but still steady. Along 290, it's the same thing. And even along the Katy Freeway, pushing closer towards Memorial, we're starting to see some of that activity take shape. I'm going to get a closer view towards the heart of the city, even though we're not under any concerns right now for flooding. I do want to give you a closer view as to what kind of rain we're looking at right now. So for the most part, very light and manageable for the Galleria, for Hunters Creek, for Bel Air, moving in towards the Heights. That's where we're starting to see some heavier downpours. So these bands are going to start moving in here over the next couple of hours. And I think we are on tap to accumulate some additional rainfall here for the next day or two. So already we've had plenty of it over the last 48 hours. So here's a snapshot view. There's definitely some areas that have been getting hit extremely hard, like near Bryan College Station. You'll notice that area there in bright pink. I'm going to take a sample of how much rainfall that area has gotten, and I wouldn't be surprised. Yep, it's coming up close to 10 inches. I'll remove this here in a second so you can have a closer look. But for the northern side of the Beltway, at least 5 inches, closer towards 59, 69, working into Cleveland, same thing. And then there are certain pockets, let's say in the Spring area, in the Woodlands, the areas that are under flash flood warnings right now, that have picked up closer to 8 and 9 inches of rainfall. So there's the 8-inch rain marker that I showed you there coming up the North Freeway, and then near Humboldt, about 7 inches. All of this moisture is coming in from the tropics. So we had this batch of rain that moved in from what was Tropical Storm Christina in the eastern Pacific, passed through Mexico, now re-emerging just south of Brownsville at the moment. That's where the core of the storm is, and it's going to continue to push in closer to the upper Texas coastline over the next day. So over the next, I'd say 18 to 24 hours, we're going to see the biggest impacts. Right now, the National Hurricane Center is calling this potential tropical cyclone 1. So this area we've been monitoring for days. I mean, close to a week, maybe longer than that. We started off with the potential of 10% chance for development. Then we increased that to 20, 30. Now we're sitting at 60. Then the National Hurricane Center got a little bit more interested in the zone because it was gaining a little bit more intensity and organization. They called it a Invest 90L, so an area of interest. The hurricane hunters are going to be flying through here this evening. And now ahead of that, they've called it a PTC1. I know it can get a little bit confusing, but what you need to know is that this is the criteria just below getting a designation. So either a tropical depression or a tropical storm. And a tropical storm is the one that gets a name, and that's the one that would gain the designation Arthur. Okay, so let's look at the logistics here. 30-mile-an-hour wind speed sustained. Gusts are at 40 miles an hour. It's moving north and east at 6 miles an hour. The pressure has stayed pretty steady. The hurricane hunters are going to look at this storm tonight and see if there's an additional pressure drop, if there's a little bit more of a tightening with this storm, and if it does gain 40-mile-an-hour wind speeds, then it would get that tropical storm criteria. Because of that, in anticipation of the possibility of that happening, the National Hurricane Center has put our coastline under a tropical storm watch. That means these areas do need to be prepared for not just the rainfall and the flash flood concerns, but the potential of some increased wave heights that could lead to coastal flooding and some gusty tropical storm force winds. So what is a tropical storm watch? Possible impacts within 48 hours. At this point, it is a lot sooner than that. So I'd say within the next 18 to 24 is what I'm thinking this will be. Winds are going to be at 39 to 73 miles an hour because this is a pretty low grade storm at this point. I think we'll be closer to this range. Coastal flooding a possibility and storm surge a possibility. What is storm surge? So when we have this storm turning in a counterclockwise rotation, it pushes up the waves closer to the coastline, and it can lead to some waves stacking up on top of each other. A surge of 7 to 10 feet is possible for our coastline, and so that could lead to some homes, some businesses, some structures getting some flooding because of the force of the storm. Future track wind gusts right now are putting out some of these tropical storm force winds just on the cusp of that right around 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's in Galveston. That's pushing along the Bolivar Peninsula. We don't have a gauge right here, but I would say along the Bolivar Peninsula is where we could feel those 50, maybe 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And then the storm pretty quickly starts moving towards Louisiana. I think by Thursday, that's where most of the activity is going to be. This is the official cone from the National Hurricane Center. So they're thinking by tonight, this is still a disorganized low, gaining organization by tomorrow morning as a tropical storm, 40-mile-an-hour winds. Again, this is a prediction. If it gets just below this to 38-mile-an-hour winds, it would be a tropical depression instead of a storm. But right now they're thinking it does get a name. It pushes from Freeport to Galveston and eventually from Galveston towards Louisiana. First name on the list for us is Arthur. Then we go on to Bertha, Cristobal, Dolly. You get the point. But this could be the first named storm of the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season, and it is right on our heels. So it's definitely something to pay really close attention to, especially as we go into a pretty busy next couple of days. I mean, were you planning to go to Edo to watch some of the games on the big screen, or were you actually planning to go to NRG for the next game that we host, which is tomorrow? You're going to want to check radar. You're going to want to have an update before you try to hit the roads. Just so you can, stay safe as you try to maneuver around the city over the next few days. 81 right now in Galveston. This is our saltwater recon camera, so things are pretty calm right now. We're going to see some on and off rain throughout the day. Edo is looking good so far right now. I do see a couple of raindrops coming down, but overall it's not heavy downpours, not yet at least. For the big airport, it's the same thing. We've got some shower activity. Most of the heavy rain, though, is a little bit north and west, out towards Cypress, out towards Coralville, Spring, those areas that I showed you earlier. But it is bringing us at least some rain-cooled air for the time being. I think our temperatures are going to stay capped today in the upper 70s to low 80s. Feels incredibly muggy outside. These are tropical downpours, so the air just hangs out. That humidity hangs out. And that's something you're just gonna have to muscle through over today and tomorrow. Like I said, some relief I think is headed in our direction by late Thursday. Here's your hourly forecast. So in the middle of a lot of cloud cover today and on and off downpours, that's going to continue through the late night into tomorrow. Let me have a look at future track for you. So we've got this heavy band that's set up, giving us our flash flood warnings right now. The future track models have this lingering over the next couple of hours, yes, weakening, so I'm looking forward to that, but still bringing us a couple of downpours throughout the city. So maybe in the Katy area, maybe near 59, 69. If you're trying to get down to Sugar Land or Richmond, maybe that's going to be a trouble spot for you at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Then we get pockets of heavy downpours, and the models right now are putting most of the heavy rain from that tropical system offshore or close to the immediate coastline. So by tomorrow morning, we're looking at some heavy rain from Galveston up the Gulf Freeway near League City, Texas City, the Bay, Kemah. I'm expecting some heavy rain for you. Wraparound moisture again hitting those same areas. Now, some of these bands are going to stretch into the heart of the city as well. So I don't think you're completely out of the woods tomorrow with the potential for flash flooding. I think it still remains. And keep in mind, this is one model run. These are going to update throughout the day. And it could be very possible that we get some more heavy rain to the heart of the city. So just be mindful that you need to be updated throughout the day. But right now, the consensus is that some of the heaviest rain is going to be for the coastline, and some of the strongest wind impacts will be for the areas that are under a tropical storm watch. If you want a refresher as to what those areas are that have been highlighted by the National Hurricane Center, we're going to have that. We actually have that up right now on khou.com. We have it up on our social media pages, so you can check in on Instagram, on X, on Facebook, and you can look back at any of the areas that might be of your concern, perhaps an area you live or an area where one of your family members lives. Weather impact alerts for now last all the way through Thursday. I think by late Thursday, we start seeing some of that rain potential finally lifting out of here, heading out east towards Louisiana, eventually pushing towards Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. And then our rain chances linger, but they definitely subside. So 50% chance for your Friday, for your Saturday. I think by Sunday, a couple of isolated showers are still in the mix. And then we finally get to take a break from the rain. My gosh, Jen, I mean, it has been nonstop.